It is the silent killer of the American dream. It isn't just inflation. It isn't just the price of eggs or gas. It is something much more structural, much more permanent. In 2026, where you live determines if you build wealth or if you bleed it. There are 10 specific states in this country that we are classifying as financial death traps. In these states, a six-figure salary feels like poverty. In these states, you don't own your home, the government does. And in these states, when you finally try to leave or pass your wealth to your children, they take one final massive cut. We have analyzed the total tax burden, income, property, sales, and hidden fees, along with the cost of living index for 2026. The data explains the massive migration trends we're seeing. It explains why people are fleeing California, New York, and Illinois in historic numbers. They aren't just moving for the weather. They are moving for survival. Today, we are counting down the top 10 states that will bankrupt you. From the inheritance thieves of the East Coast to the income tax prisons of the West, these are the places you need to avoid if you ever want to be free. Is your state on the list? And where is the safe haven? Let's break down the numbers. We start the countdown in the frozen north. Number 10, Minnesota. Minnesota is often praised for its high quality of life, its lakes, and its healthcare. But there is a price tag attached to that quality of life that is driving residents, especially retirees, out in droves. On paper, the housing market looks reasonable. The average home price is $345,000. That's actually 18% cheaper than the national average. So why is it a death trap? The taxes. Minnesota has one of the most aggressive income tax structures in the country. The top rate hits nearly 9.85%. That's California-level taxation in a state where you're frozen for 5 months of the year. But the real kick in the teeth is for the elderly. Minnesota is one of the few remaining states that taxes Social Security benefits. Imagine working for 40 years, paying into the system, and finally getting your meager Social Security check, only for the state of Minnesota to demand a cut of it. This policy alone is responsible for the snowbird exodus. Where are they moving? They are heading west to South Dakota, where there is zero state income tax, or south to Florida. The difference in wealth retention over 20 years is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Minnesota is a beautiful state, but financially, it's a leaking bucket. Number 9, Maryland. Maryland is one of the wealthiest states in the nation per capita, but it's also one of the most expensive places to exist. The average home price is $430,000. That's slightly above the national average, but the rent? A one-bedroom averages $1,750. Here's the trap in Maryland. It isn't just the state tax, it's the county tax. In most states, you pay federal and state income tax. In Maryland, the counties slap an additional income tax on top of your paycheck, often up to 3.2%. So you're paying federal, state, and local income tax. It's a triple taxation system that devours your disposable income. But the reason Maryland is a financial death trap is literal. It has an estate tax and an inheritance tax. Most states have abolished these, but Maryland wants a piece of your legacy. If you work hard, pay off your house, build a nest egg, and try to pass it to your children, the state steps in to take a massive cut before your family sees a dime. This drives generational wealth out of the state. Smart families move their assets to Virginia or Delaware before they pass away. Number 8, Oregon. Oregon markets itself on natural beauty, the coast, the forests, the mountains. And for a long time, it was the affordable version of the West Coast. That era is over. The average home price has surged to $510,000. That's 21% higher than the national average. But the real killer here is the income tax structure. In many states, the highest backdrops are reserved for millionaires. In Oregon, the top rate of 9.85% kicks in at a shockingly low income level. If you're a middle-class family, a teacher, and a firefighter, you're paying one of the highest income tax rates in the nation. You're being taxed like a millionaire while living a middle-class life. Oregon also taxes capital gains as regular income. That means if you sell your business or your stocks to retire, the state takes nearly 10% off the top. There's no break for long-term investment. Oregon has become a financial trap where the cost of entry is high and the cost of staying is even higher. Number 7, Connecticut. Connecticut is the land of hedge funds and historic mansions, but unless you run a hedge fund, it's a difficult place to build wealth. The average home price is $440,000, but the property taxes are the real story. In many towns, you're paying effective rates of over 2%. Connecticut's economy has barely grown since the 2008 recession. Major employers like General Electric packed up and left for Boston. When big companies leave, the tax base shrinks. Who picks up the slack? You do. And here's a unique trap: the gift tax. Connecticut is the only state in the union with a standalone gift tax on assets you transfer while you're alive. If you want to help your kid buy a house or transfer a business to them, the state wants a cut. It's a state that seems designed to prevent the transfer of wealth.
Number 6, Vermont. Vermont is undeniably beautiful. Green mountains, maple syrup, small-town vibes. During the pandemic, people flocked here for the scenery. But now, the honeymoon is over. Vermont has a housing crisis that borders on catastrophic. There is almost zero inventory. The average home price is $415,000, but you can't find anything to buy. Strict zoning laws prevent new construction. This drives prices up artificially. You are paying a premium for scarcity, not quality. And the taxes? Brutal. Vermont has a progressive income tax that hits nearly 9%. And yes, like Minnesota, they tax Social Security benefits for many retirees. Vermont is a luxury product. If you can afford it, it's lovely. But if you are trying to build wealth or retire on a budget, it is a death trap. Number 5, Illinois. Illinois is the economic engine of the Midwest. It has Chicago, a global hub of commerce and culture. And yet, it is bleeding residents at an alarming rate. Why? Because Illinois is sitting on a financial time bomb that is set to detonate on the shoulders of the taxpayers. Let's look at the housing market. The median home price in Illinois is $285,000. That's actually 32% cheaper than the national average. So why is it a death trap? Because in Illinois, you don't own your home. You merely rent it from the state. Illinois has the second highest property tax rate in the entire nation, sitting at 2.23%. If you buy a modestly priced $300,000 home in the Chicago suburbs, your property tax bill will easily exceed $6,600 a year. And here's the trap. Those taxes cannot go down. They are mathematically guaranteed to rise. Illinois has a pension debt crisis that is almost incomprehensible. The state owes hundreds of billions of dollars to retired government workers, and they do not have the money to pay them. The only way to cover that deficit is to extract it from the homeowners. Imagine a young family moving to Naperville. They budget for their mortgage, but every single year their property tax bill climbs higher and higher to pay for a state debt they had nothing to do with creating. Eventually, the property taxes become higher than the principal on their mortgage. That is the breaking point. That is when they pack up. Number 4, New Jersey. If Illinois is the second worst state for property taxes, New Jersey takes the dark crown as the absolute worst. The Garden State is a geographic gold mine, But the toll to access this geography is astronomical. The median home price in New Jersey is $545,000, but the property tax rate is a staggering 2.46%. Let's do the math. If you buy a standard 4-bedroom house in a good New Jersey school district for $600,000, your annual property tax bill will easily exceed $15,000. $15,000 every single year. That's $1,250 a month just in taxes. You never pay that off. But the ultimate financial death trap signature of New Jersey is something known as the exit tax. Imagine you survive the taxes, you pay off your house, you decide to retire and move to Florida. New Jersey requires you to pay an estimated tax on the sale of your home before you are even allowed to leave the state. They literally tax you on your way out the door. Number 3. Hawaii. How can paradise be a death trap? Hawaii is without a doubt one of the most stunningly beautiful places on planet Earth. But mathematically, it's an absolute nightmare. Hawaii has the worst purchasing power in the United States. A household making $94,000 a year in Hawaii actually feels like they're surviving on $55,000 on the mainland. The wealth is an illusion. The median home price is nearly $1 million. $975,000 to be exact. Rent for a basic 1-bedroom apartment is $2,800 a month. But the housing cost is only half the trap. The other half is the paradise premium. Because Hawaii is an island chain in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, almost everything has to be shipped in, and then there's the hidden tax. Hawaii has something called the General Excise Tax, or GET. It looks like a sales tax of about 4%, but it's applied to almost everything: services, rent, and even medical bills. You are being taxed on the very act of existing. We hear from locals all the time who are suffering from island fever. But it's not because they're tired of the beaches. It's because they realize they will work 2 jobs for the rest of their lives and never own a piece of the island.
Number 2. New York. The Empire State, Wall Street, Broadway, the center of global finance. And yet, New York leads the nation in wealth flight. People are leaving New York faster than almost any other state in the country. The median home price statewide is $650,000, but if you look at the New York City metro area, rent easily averages $3,800 a month. But the real death trap of New York is the combined tax burden. If you live and work in New York City, you are hit with a brutal trifecta. You pay federal income tax, then you pay state income tax, which reaches 10.9%. Then you pay a city income tax of nearly 4%. A professional making $150,000 a year in Manhattan will see almost half of their paycheck vanish before it ever hits their bank account. And what are they getting for that premium price tag? In recent years, residents point to failing infrastructure, a raging cost of living crisis, and public safety concerns. During the pandemic, the remote work revolution broke the spell. Wall Street executives and middle-class families realized they didn't have to pay the New York premium anymore. Number 1. California. The Golden State has lost its shine. California is a beautiful tragedy. It is the 5th largest economy in the world. It is the home of Hollywood and Silicon Valley. But for the average American, moving to California in 2026 is financial suicide. Let's start with the taxes. California has the highest state income tax rate in the nation, topping out at a punishing 14.4%. They have the highest gas tax in the nation. You are paying over $5.40 a gallon just to sit in some of the worst gridlock traffic on the planet. The housing market? The median home price is $810,000. That is 92% higher than the U.S. average.
If you want to live in Los Angeles, San Diego, or the Bay Area, $1 million barely buys you a starter home. A family making $91,000 a year in California has the purchasing power of someone making barely $60,000 in Texas. You might have a high salary, but you are house poor. You work strictly to pay the bank and the state. And then there is the insurance crisis. We have covered the real estate bubble and the housing market crash on this channel, but California adds a horrifying twist. Because of massive unchecked wildfires and heavy regulations, major insurance companies are canceling policies and leaving the state entirely. If you manage to scrape together the money to buy $1 million home, you might find out that it is uninsurable. The final, undeniable proof of the California death trap is the U-Haul index. Supply and demand dictate the price of moving trucks. Right now, if you want to rent a U-Haul to move from Texas to California, it might cost you $1,200. But if you want to rent that exact same truck to move from California to Texas, it will cost you $4,000. Why? Because everyone is leaving and the trucks are running out. They're fleeing to Texas, Nevada, and Arizona. They're escaping the homelessness crisis, the crushing taxes, and the suffocating cost of living. California is the #1 financial death trap in America.